Let me ask you something. Did you know that if you have diabetes, you're twice as likely to have a stroke than someone who doesn't? What's worse, most people miss the early signs. They think a little slurred speech, a tiny bit of arm weakness, or a sudden headache is nothing. But for seniors with diabetes, these could be your brain's SOS signal. Today, I'm going to show you exactly which subtle stroke symptoms diabetics ignore, why they're so dangerous, and what you can do right now to protect your brain and your future. Let's get real for a moment. Diabetes doesn't just raise your blood sugar. It quietly wrecks your blood vessels, inch by inch, year after year. And that damage is exactly why people with diabetes are up to twice as likely to have a stroke than people without it. You see, every bit of extra sugar in your blood acts like tiny shards of glass scraping along the inside walls of your arteries. Over time, that scraping wears them down. The lining gets rougher, weaker, and sticky. A perfect place for fatty deposits, called plaques, to cling to. Imagine you're watering your garden. A garden hose with smooth walls lets water flow fast. But what if the inside of the hose is full of bumps, cracks, and clogs? The flow slows down, or worse, stops altogether. Your brain depends on steady, smooth blood flow every second. When diabetes narrows or clogs your arteries, it's like kinking that garden hose. Less blood gets through. If a clot or a bit of plaque breaks off and blocks a tiny artery in your brain, that part of your brain dies within minutes. That's a stroke. Why does this happen more often in seniors with diabetes? There are 3 big reasons. 1, sugar damage adds up over decades. You may feel fine now, but if you've lived with high sugar for years, your arteries have taken a beating. Many people think, I feel okay, so my numbers can't be that bad. The truth is, your blood vessels don't complain until it's too late. 2, diabetes messes with your nerves, too. Did you know diabetes can dull the nerves that should warn you when something's wrong? Some people don't feel numbness, tingling, or weakness as clearly, so they miss the early warning signs of a stroke. 3, it hides behind normal aging. So many seniors blame memory slips, dizziness, or confusion on just getting older. But sometimes, these are tiny strokes happening in real time, especially common in people with diabetes. Meet Helen. Helen is 71. She's had type 2 diabetes for 15 years. She eats well most of the time, but her sugar sometimes spikes after dinner. Last month, Helen found herself searching for words during a conversation. Just for a moment. She laughed it off. A week later, she noticed her right leg felt heavier when she climbed stairs. She blamed arthritis. Then she had a sudden headache, but she took a nap and felt better. 3 weeks later, Helen had a full-blown stroke that changed her life overnight. She couldn't move her right arm, and speaking felt like trying to push words through mud. When doctors looked closer, they realized Helen had probably had several mini strokes before the big one hit. Tiny clots starving small parts of her brain, one patch at a time. This is the danger many seniors don't see coming. Your first stroke often doesn't come out of nowhere. It builds up through a chain of silent damage, tiny clots, mini strokes, and neglected sugar levels. It's not dramatic at first, but when the big one comes, there's no rewind button. Here's another thing most people don't know. Strokes are not always massive events where someone drops to the floor. Many start small. The medical term is TIA, a transient ischemic attack, often called a mini stroke. A TIA doesn't kill brain cells permanently if blood flow returns fast enough, but it's your brain's final flare gun. Up to 1 in 3 people who have a mini stroke will have a major stroke within days or weeks, unless they act fast. That's why this matters. If you can spot the warning signs early, you have a fighting chance to stop a disaster. So what can you do? First, know what to look for. Most people, especially diabetics, brush off the subtle signs because they think, it's just my sugar acting up. I'm just tired. I'm just getting old. But tiny signals, slurred speech, a drooping smile, sudden weakness, sudden confusion, these are your chance to act before it's too late. Take Jack, 70. Jack's been diabetic for 20 years. One morning, he spilled his coffee because his right hand went numb for 10 minutes. He blamed sleeping funny. His wife insisted they call 911. At the hospital, doctors found a clot about to cause a massive stroke. They treated it immediately. Today, Jack is back to walking his dog every morning because he didn't ignore the signs. This is why you're watching this video. Because you care enough about your brain, your memories, your words, your independence, to learn what most people miss. In a moment, I'll show you exactly which subtle symptoms diabetics like Helen, Jack, and millions more often brush aside, and how you can tell the difference between an ordinary sugar swing and a life-saving red flag. So keep watching, because part 2 might just save your brain. The hidden link between diabetes and strokes is real, but it doesn't have to be your story. In part 2, I'll break down the exact early warning signs with real-life examples so you'll never have to wonder, is this normal or should I get help? You're about to find out. Stay with me. Most seniors believe a stroke is sudden, like a lightning bolt out of nowhere. But if you have diabetes, strokes rarely come without whispers first. Your body warns you. The problem? Those whispers are easy to brush aside, especially if you think it's just blood sugar acting up. So let's make this real. Imagine these everyday moments. One weakness or numbness. Mary, 72, felt her right hand go weak as she poured coffee. She blamed sleeping funny. A week later, she had a major stroke. That tiny moment was her brain waving a red flag. 2. Slurred speech. John, 68, called his daughter but couldn't get his words out. She thought the phone was breaking up, but it was John's brain begging for help. 3. Blurred vision. George, 70, lost vision in one eye for 30 seconds while reading the paper. He blamed dry eyes, but that was a clot drifting through his blood vessels. 4. Sudden dizziness. Linda, 66, got so dizzy she grabbed the kitchen counter. She thought her sugar dropped, but this time it wasn't sugar, it was a TIA, a mini stroke. 5. Severe headache. If you don't get headaches but suddenly feel the worst one of your life, don't nap it off. Call 911. It could be bleeding in your brain. 6. Sudden confusion. Bill, 74, was paying bills, then forgot how to write a check. He blamed senior moments, but confusion can mean your brain's oxygen is cut off. The scary part? For diabetics, these signs often look like normal sugar swings. But here's the truth. If they feel sudden, stronger than usual, or different than your normal, it's time to act. A mini stroke is your second chance. Most people ignore it, and then the big one hits. So, what do you do if you notice any of these signs? You don't wait. You don't see if it goes away. You call 911 immediately because you still have power. In fact, what you do today can decide whether these warnings stay whispers or turn into a shout that changes your life forever. So, what's your next move? Let's talk about that, because part 3 is all about action. What you can do today, tonight, and tomorrow to keep your brain safe even if you have diabetes. Now that you know the warnings, here's how to fight back, because knowledge means nothing without action, and even small actions can change your future. Take Mr. Harris, 75. He checks his sugar daily, but used to ignore his blood pressure. One checkup showed it was dangerously high, a silent combo with diabetes that nearly caused a stroke. Now he checks both every morning. Small habit, huge protection. Know your numbers. Sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, track them. Ask your doctor what's safe for you. Write them down. Patterns matter. Take your meds even when you feel fine. Susan, 69, skipped her statins because my cholesterol is probably fine. 6 months later, she was in the ER. Now she doesn't miss a dose. Move gently, move daily. James, 71, hated the word exercise, but walking 30 minutes each day with his neighbor made his doctor smile. He feels steadier, sleeps better, and has lost weight without fancy gyms. Eat smart, stay steady. Martha, 67, swapped her sugary cereal for oatmeal and berries. Now her sugar spikes less and her brain has steady fuel. Don't ignore sleep apnea. Frank, 73, got tested after his wife noticed he gasped at night. Using a CPAP wasn't fun at first, but now his blood pressure is lower and he feels rested. Less oxygen dips at night means less stroke risk. Get routine checkups. Anna, 70, thought she was fine until her doctor found a 70% blockage in her neck artery during a routine scan. She fixed it before disaster hit. Listen to your body and trust your gut. If something feels off, weakness, blurry vision, confusion, don't play doctor. Don't wait. Call 911 so you see how it flows, the signs, the reasons, the real stories, your daily plan. A stroke doesn't care how old you are, but your actions today can stop it tomorrow. Share this video with someone living with diabetes. You could save their brain, their independence, even their life. If you found this helpful, click subscribe. Next, watch my video on gentle senior exercises to protect your blood vessels. Because what you do for 30 minutes today can give you years of clear thinking tomorrow. Stay strong, stay aware, and never ignore your body's whispers again.